So what I'm on a mission to is figuring out, what is it? How do we take, because I actually believe that sitting inside of a big organization actually gives you a better vantage point than any other place. But we have to retrain those organizations to really create leadership for this generation. And so I began to ask myself, what is it that makes these new, younger organizations' behaviors different than ours? Well, one is that they understand growth. And that's what we all care about. But they understand growth in a unique and interesting way. I believe it's tied to the consumer, and they've been able to create unbounded growth in shorter periods of time than many of the organizations that have been around for 100 years, Levi's. And look at Dropbox, 2007, 2 times the valuation of Levi's. They also understand that time is not a factor in the scale and speed at which an organization can grow. So here's Mailbox. In 4 months, they sold for $100 million. I would take that all day long, by the way, all day long. It also has nothing to do with the number of people that you have. So 13 people sold Instagram for $1 billion. 13 people created a company that was worth $1 billion. That's insane. I wish I was one of those 13 as well. It also has nothing to do with specific industry. So there are other new industries that are unlocking unbounded growth, like MakerBot, right? So MakerBot sold for $403 million. It also has nothing to do with geography. So there are over 100 places around the world, innovation centers that look something like Silicon Valley, Silicon Alley, Silicon Lane, Silicon Forest, Silicon Beach. It's like, with all this intelligence, can we come up with something better than just Silicon something? But I guess that's their level of creativity. It also has nothing to do with age. All these kids have one thing in common. They're all founders. In fact, the kid on your left created an app called Bustin' Jeeber. You guys laugh, but he did a TED Talk. I get to talk to you guys today. I'm just letting you know. It's kind of where my career's at. But it has nothing to do with age. It also has nothing to do with education. I'm sure you guys, a couple months ago, Peter Thiel had a great article on the cover of Fortune. So Peter Thiel is paying kids not to go to high school because he believes he can unlock greater value from them than they can actually find from a college education. And when you begin to think about it, Zuckerberg, Sergey, they all dropped out of college. In fact, Karp from Tumblr doesn't even have a high school diploma, and he sold Tumblr to Yahoo for $1 billion. Now, I know you guys are all saying, well, look, Marissa will buy anything. You're probably right, but the point is, he didn't even have a high school diploma. And even Rockstars believe that there's something unique about this digital thing, this coding generation, and they believe that coders are actually today's rock stars. And it begins to make sense. When you look at the magazines that actually showcase culture, you begin to see the same thing. So whether it's Biz on Billboard, or Jobs on Rolling Stone, Sandberg on Cosmo, or Bonnet on Campaign, come on, that's good stuff. But we have to ask ourselves, what is it? What is the thing that's allowing this to happen? And I would argue that it's the culture of the organization. They've been able to build a unique and interesting culture that allows for them to question and hack their organization. And they even talk about it. Facebook wears the shirts on their back, the hacker way. And some of the best things in the world have actually been built from hacks. So the like button was built in 48 hours via a hackathon. There's companies that are actually trying to hack airlines. I mean, every single one of these organizations are trying to break. And I've argued that we're in the midst of this idea of this hackonomy, where we have to begin to create value by breaking things, by breaking our organizations, breaking our process, and most importantly, I firmly believe this now more than ever, we have to break ourselves. We have to break our current career, because we have to be able, and I'll give you an example. So, I'm at dinner with Facebook, and they have a brand new hire. Where do you think that hire came from? Came from an organization I used to work for, came from PepsiCo. When you look at the ranks of these organizations, they're pillaging the ranks of every single place that we work at, every single place that we work at. And what I think about is, will I be, in 3 years, so he probably left at the same level that I did. Will I be in 3 years as competitive or capable as he will be, having his experience going through a digital organization. And we have to ask ourselves, can we actually stare that person across the table 3 years from now and believe that we are actually a better competitor than they are, given that experience? Now, I believe there's unique opportunity for big organizations, people who sit in big organizations, to do that. Because again, I believe we straddle both sides. But I think that in order for us to do that, we cannot continue in the path that we have. We have to begin to break our thinking. And so like button, things like Open Airplane, which are challenging the airline industry, right? They want to be the Uber of the airline industry, which, look, I travel all the time, but I'm never like, you know what? I just need a plane right now. Oh, 2 minutes, good, I'm great. Great. Not all things will work, I guess is the big point here. People are also hacking the body and challenging the notion of humanity. Here's a guy called Stellog, who's got an ear implanted in his arm, and in that ear he's got a Bluetooth microphone. So when his phone rings, he can answer by talking into his ear. Hello, hello, can you hear me now? That joke never lands. Anyway, he's got speakers in his mouth, so when somebody calls him, he moves his mouth as if it was somebody else's voice coming out of it. But he's challenging the notion of humanity itself. Here's somebody else who's hacking humanity. His name is Hugh Hare. Amazing TED Talk. I recommend that you see it. What Hugh Hare is, he claims that he is the world's first bionic. His story is simple. When he was 17 years old, he got caught in a blizzard on a mountain. He was considered one of the world-renowned mountain climbers. When he was 17, he got caught on a mountain in a blizzard, and he lost both of his legs, and his best friend died. He came home from the hospital, and a week later, his brother, seeing how much he missed climbing, took him out to climb on his prosthetics. And as he was climbing, he chipped the toe of his prosthetics. But he realized that he could actually grip the mountain just a little bit better. So he went home and began to hack his prosthetics. At this time, he was a D student. But he decided that he was going to devote his life to turning disability into ability. Now, as a PhD professor at MIT, he's considered the world #1 bionic. And he believes that these bionic limbs, so they operate just like human limbs. When you step down, your leg actually pushes back. This leg pushes back. There's an app to actually change the tension. And he believes he'll get these legs down to $3,000 in the next couple of years, truly transforming what it means, the prosthetic industry at large. What's even more amazing is I was speaking at the Economist event, and he spoke after me, and somebody in the crowd asked him a question. They said, do you ever see a time when somebody would opt to have a prosthetic limb or a bionic limb over a real limb? And he said, well, let me answer it this way. If you were 61 and your arthritic arm didn't operate like your 18-year-old arm used to, and there were no complications, what decision would you make? And there was a hush over the crowd, because at that moment, we all realized that we are entering a world where we might actually become more computer than we actually are human. And I bring this up to point to the pace and the growth of this thing called digital and tech is so dramatic that we've never seen a shift like this before. And if we are truly going to be competitive in our thinking, our strategy, and our approach, we have to focus on learning, understanding, and taking advantage of this thing.